Welcome in, everybody. Today we're going to be discussing everything starvation and starvation hormones and what triggers them and how they could be sabotaging your weight loss desires. I think first, for so many, there are probably many people who actually don't even know what starvation hormones are. So let's go. The first one. There are so many different reasons for weight loss failure, and starvation is a major factor. Why is that?
Well, it's a psychological problem. If you think about it, if you're trying to lose weight, and let's say you're consuming 1,400 calories a day, and you're losing a pound a week, 2 pounds a week, does it not seem logical that if you consumed only 1,000 calories, well, you'd lose weight much faster and get over the uncomfortable process sooner? But that's not the case.
And why not?
It goes back to our ancient ancestors. And we carry their DNA, whether we want to or like to or not. And those skills that kept our ancestors from becoming extinct, so we are in fact are here today, is due to these genetic mutations or modifications. You see, if you look back 400 or 500 years, 1,000 years, food was not very plentiful. There were no supermarkets. There were no fast food restaurants. So everything that those people ate was seasonal. And in the northern climates where things can get nasty, a great many months out of the year, food can become extremely scarce. So as these people had less and less to eat, their metabolism adjusted by slowing down to try to avoid starving to death. And the body does that by releasing key hormones, which we now call starvation hormones. And their job is to slow the metabolism, to conserve body fat so that they'll make it through the winter. Kind of like bears in the woods. You know, they get real fat in the fall and then they go to sleep for 4 months and they live off their body fat. Well, that's basically what our ancestors had no choice but to do as well. And we carry those genes today. So what happens is that when you start to consume less and less food in a desperate attempt to lose weight because you're doing it wrong in the first place, your body sees that as starvation because your body's wisdom comes from its genetics, its ancestral genetics. It doesn't know there's a fast food restaurant down the street. It doesn't know that there's a supermarket that's open 24 hours a day. All it knows is that there's less and less food being consumed for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And when that happens, the body does what our ancestors' bodies did, generate special hormones that conserve body fat, hang on to weight, slow the metabolism in order to survive the famine. And when you're trying to lose weight, that's probably not what you want.
And so, is that for carb intolerant and calorie sensitive, or is there one more than the other?
Generally speaking, we find that people who are carbohydrate intolerant and are counting carbs don't have this problem as much. It does occur because they can eat high amounts of food, they just can't eat carbs.
Yeah.
So they rarely become nutrient or caloric deficient because they're consuming higher amounts of proteins and with them a significant amount of fat. So their caloric level is elevated. But almost invariably, when we see people counting calories, they think if a little's good, less is better. And it's not.
So how does that, like, whenever you helped me lose 60 pounds and I'm carb intolerant, I knew I just had to eat small amounts of protein throughout the day to make sure I didn't trigger my own starvation hormones, because I listened to what you said, and you said if you feel hungry, you should have a small amount of protein to get you through it. Is there any relation to starvation hormones and ketosis then? Or not really?
Not generally speaking, no. When your body is in ketosis, it's there because of the absence of carbohydrates.
Okay.
So your body is... Ketosis is a funny word, and all it means is your body's burning fat for energy instead of glucose. That's what it means.
Okay. And so the calorie-sensitive dieter is more susceptible to starvation hormones.
Oh, sure, because they go on a 1,400-calorie diet, and they think, well, 1,200 to be better. And boy, if I go down to 1,000, then I'm going to lose weight really quickly. But that's not what happens. What happens is, as you consume less and less calories, your body gets closer and closer to starvation hormone production because it's trying to save your life from the perceived famine. And so the end result of that is your body plateaus. It stops losing weight because the starvation hormones are conserving and protecting your fat storehouse so that you don't starve to death. And so the end result of eating less and less food in a desperate attempt to lose weight quicker, and you end up plateauing. And that's not something a dieter wants.
Oh, so you're saying you got a calorie sensitive dieter or a carb intolerant dieter, and they feel hunger, or they eat, the calorie sensitive person would eat less calories, thinking that's going to help them lose weight, when actuality it triggers the starvation hormones. Then the starvation hormones trigger the plateau. Then the plateau triggers the frustration in the dieter, and then you end up...
And then they end up...
messing it up.
Going to eat chocolate cake.
Yeah. Because the starvation hormones triggered what... Cravings, which some people I've heard call hangry.
Yes.
Or you might know the people who, you know, man, woman, it doesn't really matter, and they would, you know, the type of person they are, where they have to eat, where they're like, I have to eat or it's not going to be good, or you know what I mean, what they call hangry.
Yeah.
Isn't that hangry is starvation hormones, isn't it?
Yes, but it affects their emotions.
Probably low blood sugar.
Blood sugar, right.
Yeah.
Blood sugar begins to fall.
And is blood sugar beginning to fall? Is that one of the triggers for a starvation hormone, or is it two separate things?
Usually they run parallel. They're rarely linked, but sometimes.
Okay. And so talk more about how it affects metabolism. Is there any more that you could add to that? Or?
Just realize that your metabolism is the rate at which your body burns fuel for energy.
Okay.
And if there's plenty of energy from the right foods for your metabolism, it will burn efficiently. And that efficiency actually contributes to body fat loss.
Yeah.
See, the biggest problem is that people they've got 30 pounds to lose and they want to lose it by Friday. And that's human
unrealistic,
nature.
Yeah.
And it's very unrealistic. And the fact of the matter is, and you are a testament to that, I think we talked before about you losing your 60 pounds.
Yeah.
And you lost it over about 8 months.
8 months.
We probably could have got it off of you in 3. But by doing it slower, your body had a chance to adapt to a new set point. And that's a subject for another video down the road. And once you allow the body to adjust to a set point, it now perceives that set point or that body weight as normal. You're much, much less likely to regain weight afterwards.
And that's why I'm able to maintain 175 pounds for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Because you helped me and guided me the whole way. That led me to now being
and you haven't been dieting all that time.
I haven't been dieting at all.
At all. No, you don't need to if you do it right.
Yeah. And so how can nutrient deficiencies come into play with all this?
Well, understand that we do not eat just for calories, just for fuel.
Yeah.
We also eat for nutrients.
And for fun.
Hopefully, a little, yeah. But we have several problems. First of all, the standard American diet over the last 30 or 40 years has become increasingly deficient in essential nutrients. And this is due to a whole host of reasons. Over-farming, forced farming, not replacing nutrients in the farmlands, et cetera, et cetera. And as the nutrient levels in our food drop, the body says, hey, I need more of this nutrient, or I need more of that nutrient for optimal wellness. So it increases your appetite, something you don't want if you're on a weight loss program. Remember that the body perceives starvation from a lack of nutrients just as much as it perceives from a lack of calories or fuel food. And so when we run a weight management session, I insist that everyone in the class take a full spectrum dietary supplement. And already I've overcome a huge percentage of problems due to starvation because I'm giving the body the nutrients that it needs. Now all I have to do is make sure I'm giving it adequate caloric intake, and we're on a roll. For example, we get a lot of people who plateau, mostly calorie people. Not always, but mostly. And they'll contact us and say, I've stayed the same weight for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and I'm down to 800 calories and I'm still not losing. Well, now you know why. Because your body's in hibernation. It's shutting down its metabolic processes to conserve energy to save your life. So the way we break a plateau is not eat less, but eat more.
Eat more.
We take those people from their 800 or 1,000 calories, put them up to 2,000 calories a day for a week or two, let them gain 5 pounds, and then start them on a proper caloric program, and they'll start to lose weight once again very quickly.
Okay. And so on top of taking a full spectrum vitamin, wouldn't you also take certain nutrients that would help the cravings that you know that are involved with the starvation hormones?
Yes, if you're a carboholic, especially, because carbs convert to glucose, which is blood sugar, which then stimulates an insulin response. The elevated insulin lowers your blood sugar, and that creates cravings for starch and sugary foods.
Yeah.
And there are other reasons why we crave those types of foods, but let's suffice that as an example for now. Yes, the answer to your question is definitely chromium, vanadium, aspartic acid, bitter melon. All of those nutrients and herbal extracts can be extremely helpful in stabilizing insulin levels. And once your insulin hormone is stabilized, your cravings diminish tremendously, if not go away altogether. And there are several reasons why we would want to control insulin production. That's just one of them. Keeping in mind that insulin is a very powerful inflammatory substance. So not only are you got cravings, but your inflammation internally is going to rise.
And so what does someone do, like if there's a dieter out there and they are plateauing, or they suspect they're triggering starvation hormones? That's the answer, is that they eat a little bit, as far as a calorie sensitive, they eat more calories for a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
And then what about the carb people?
They eat more protein and and you know, proteins, fats, and non-starchy vegetables.
Nice. Okay. Well, if you guys can think of anything else to add to that, we would love any feedback. Please comment about whatever else you think we missed. But I think that's a pretty good explanation, and hopefully it'll help some dieters plateauing right now before they give up on their New Year's resolution, and it's almost going to be March. So I'm sure, supposedly the research shows that half of them have already given up.
That's right. But just keep in mind, everybody, that it seems illogical that if you're losing weight at a certain caloric intake and you reduce those calories even further, you will lose weight faster. And you will for the first week or two. Then you will hit the dreaded plateau because of starvation hormones trying to keep you alive. And it's a whole lot easier to avoid those plateaus than to fix them later, although we can.